readers, reviewers, countrymen, lend us your ears. Welcome back to the Brothers Gwynne channel. Today, you'll notice that we may look a bit different from normal.
No,
but
we don't. We always dress like this.
Yeah, but okay, the first time you're seeing us like this, and that is for a reason. We are doing the historical character tag.
We have already done a fantasy character tag with appreciation of Philip Chase's post, his video on YouTube that we loved watching. Now we did, I'll stop using that as a microphone now. We did do our own fantasy character tag, didn't we? And now this is we thought we'd turn it on its head a little bit and do a historical fiction character tag, okay? So we've done this before, let's get straight into it. Now, William, who do you think your historical twin would be? Who's a character you think you're most similar to in historical? Now, I think William's going to say Genghis Khan.
If I said that, I think you should be a bit worried. So I would say Eli's sisters from the Sisters Brothers. I think we watched it together, we've talked about it a lot. The dynamic between the two brothers, it does seem like I am a lot like Eli. I'm very...
Are you saying I'm like Charlie?
If you've read this, yeah. So Eli's sisters he's a character who's very organised.
Yeah.
He likes his home comforts. He's quite sensitive, you know, and he doesn't really like violence, and I feel like all of them are traits that I have as
He's
well.
tired of it. He's a good guy. Yeah, that's a good choice. I like Eli's sisters. He's very in touch with who he wants to be as a person, especially in the time of the gold rush in America.
Yeah, and he doesn't really care what other people think about him, so he will
especially as he encounters his first toothbrush and he uses it, even though Charlie's sisters is very against using a toothbrush, isn't he?
Yeah, so Eli just does, if he feels happy with it and it's who he wants to be, he does it.
Yeah, that was a good choice, Will. I would say my historical twin would have to be Tom Swann. Maybe it's a little bit of wishful thinking. Tom Swann is very similar maybe to Arantha Timos when I did my fantasy character tag as well. He's a young man, he's a young English man, so voila. I wouldn't say I'm too young now, I'm 24, I'm getting back pains.
It's okay, it's okay.
But yeah, so I think would probably be Tom Swann. He's a little bit scholarly. He's not the greatest fighter of all time, but he enjoys learning. He enjoys learning how to wield a sword and a buckler and a long sword and all that kind of stuff. He likes exploring new towns. He likes going out buying clothes, fitting himself in the latest Italian fashion. And I think as a character, he's always up for a bit of fun. He's always trying to be quite, maybe a bit daring as well, kind of thing. So maybe I'm a little bit like Tom Swann. I would like to think so.
I say you are quite like Tom Swann.
Thank you.
I think you both have an obsessive personality as well. In a good way, If you fall in love with something, you properly go for it.
Yeah, we're quite passionate, I guess.
Look.
Yeah, this is just what I wear to do the dishwasher. So.
So now on to the next character tag. So Ed, who would you say is your hero?
Again, going to Christian Cameron's work, now going over to The Ill-Made Knight, which is part of the Chivalry series. The main character is William Gold, and I've got to say my hero out of all historical fiction is William Gold. He's just such a charming guy. He's lived a bad life. He's come from nothing. I mean, immediately within the first few chapters, he's defending someone from being raped. And even though that person who he's defending them against is much, much bigger than him, much scarier, he still stands up to them. And he does that throughout the book. He's always gives it his all. He's always thinking about how to be a better person. And I always try and think, what would William Gold do? So I think, definitely choose William Gold. He's sometimes a pious man, sometimes a violent man, but he always tries his best to do to do good for those other people who aren't just himself.
And my hero, so there was a character I was going to choose, but they're actually going to crop up later in this list. So I thought, who else can I include? And I thought Robert Jordan from Ernest Hemingway's For Whom the Bell Tolls. It might seem a bit of an odd choice at first, but I think that Robert Jordan, when I read it, he's such a humane and authentic character, and I found his story and this tale from his perspective to be inspiring, because he's someone he can be quite cynical of the world, and he's seen so many terrible things that he's not sure if the cause he's fighting for is worth it anymore. But throughout his journey, he keeps to his goals and he fights for what he believes is right, and that's inherently what drives him. He's not 100% sure what is going on, but he thinks, if I do what I think is right, then surely there's nothing better that I can do. And Robert Jordan, I think that he's a brilliant character. In that sense, he is a hero because he pursues what he thinks is the morally right thing.
Sounds like a good guy.
Yeah.
And the next category is champion. So who'd be your champion? Who do you think could fight for you? And more importantly, win for you? So Will?
So I think earlier on when Ed said Genghis Khan, I don't think I'm like Genghis Khan, but I would have Genghis Khan as my champion. I think if you've read Con Iggulden's Conqueror series, you'll know why. Well, Genghis Khan, I think we know the story. He rose from nothing to ruling the greatest empire in the world, the biggest empire to the contemporary period. And a lot of that was done through him fighting on the front line himself. If you have read those books, oh my words, it's just like, what? There's a reason he was the leader of the Mongol Empire. It wasn't through birthright or having political allies. It was through his military prestige.
Pretty good choice for a champion there. Well, I would probably say he
He's
fits the
there.
bill as a champion,
Yeah.
doesn't he? I would have to say, dipping into Christian Cameron's Ill-Made Knight again. I do apologise. I'm going to talk about Christian Cameron's work all the time, but hopefully you join me in reading him, and rather than get bored of me nattering on. But I would choose Fiore Di La Berry. Now, Fiore Di La Berry was actually an Italian weapons master in the 14th century, and we come across him in the Chivalry series. He becomes very friendly with William Gold, and it's absolutely amazing to see, to actually see him portrayed in a book, in a historical fiction book, rather than a non-fiction book. But he is a master of all weapons. He can fight against armour, against unarmoured opponents. He knows how to fight against horse and all that kind of stuff. He knows how to fight in armour as well, and he trained and he wrote a treatise, a kind of a manual for how to wield certain medieval weapons in the context in the 14th century, and he was indeed a master of his arms. He was challenged to many duels. He never lost one, so I would have to choose Fiore.
It'd be interesting to see Genghis Khan against Fiore.
That would
Imagine
be really
that.
cool.
But
if he had his armour on, I don't know
it'd be
I don't know how
close.
Genghis would do.
But
If he was wielding a Giavarina.
Genghis Khan on a horse, though,
Hey, why don't they be friends?
that they would be unstoppable.
Unstoppable. Now on to the next category, which is unlikable character. Someone who we love to hate. So Will, would you like to go first?
So mine is Lancelot from Bernard Cornwell's The Warlord Chronicles, one of my favourite trilogies of all time. Oh my, Lancelot is the most aggravating character. It doesn't just make your blood boil.
Absolutely. I must say as well, he is also my most unlikable character because I just love to despise him. I think this is the only one where we've chosen the same character, isn't it? But he's written so well by Bernard, Mr. Cornwell, and you just really despise him from the moment you meet him to the.
It's just his smug expression, isn't it?
And he's just a fraud, a fake, and a complete git, I must say.
For lack of a better word.
Yeah, for lack of a better term. He is a git in all senses of the word. It's so easy to hate him.
So easy. Yeah, when I started reading The Warlord Chronicles, Ed and our dad, they said that Lancelot is going to anger you, and I was like,
we were like, no.
I was like, okay, I can see how he is, but maybe not to the extent that you're saying. And then 3 pages after meeting him, I was wanting to shake that
jump
page.
on the page.
And it's just, oh my, he's so annoying. And anyone who's read The Warlord Chronicles, I think you would have felt the exact same feeling. But now we've talked about Lancelot being such a hateable figure. Now we're going to go on to something a bit lighter. So who would be your tavern buddy?
Now my tavern buddy would have to be from the Saxon stories, and it would be Finan. Now, if you've watched the TV show, you know kind of a glimpse of what Finan is like. If you've read the books, he's even more so. He's hilarious. He's a short, stout-hearted Irishman, and he is always up for a good time in a tavern. And I've got to say, Finnan, he would definitely show you a good time around the town, showing you which taverns are best to go have a drink of mead in, or a drink of wine or anything like that. So yeah, a bit of ale. I definitely think I would choose Finnan. He's a good laugh. He's light-hearted. He's always cracking the jokes, and he's also a loyal companion. So if you did get into a bit of a brawl, maybe in the tavern, he wouldn't hide under the table. He would probably be the one who started it, to be honest.
Well, I'm looking forward to meeting Finnan. So I've read the first 2 instalments of the Saxon stories, and I think is he in the next book?
Yeah, book 3.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. My tavern buddy would be Tom Swann. He may be a bit more reserved than Finnan, but I think that's exactly what I would love in a tavern buddy. To have a chat about scholarly things, but also be able to have a lot of laughs and a lot of fun. Tom Swann is a multi-dimensional character. He's not just about the academics. He also has fun with the people around him, and he does really get on with his friends, and he does value friendship. So I think that me and Tom Swann could have a great time together.
He's also a great dancer.
He could teach me a few things.
He wouldn't. Yeah, he enjoys dancing. So yeah,
wasn't
definitely.
everyone in the 15th century. So now on to the next category, and that is villain who you would not like to meet. So they are so terrifying or hateable or scary, you never want to come face to face with them.
And I would have to say that my villain will probably be Judge Holden from Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy, the Lord who is Cormac McCarthy. Now, Judge Holden is probably McCarthy's scariest character ever, to me anyway. He's absolutely terrifying. He's the epitome of death and destruction. He is the personification of chaos, and he is... he as a person is every bad urge, every dark feeling that every human probably has ever felt.
That man's primal evil
Absolutely.
nature.
He has the most
unleashed.
terrifying monologues in Blood Meridian, and everything he does is just... there's an aura of dread around him. Imagine in a fantasy book, imagine if someone walked around with a cloud of flies flying around them and everything's black behind them and dark and it's all cloudy and raining. That's probably what Judge Holden actually
definitely is, yeah.
And he's terrifying. He's this giant of a man who has no hair on him. He's completely bald, no hair on his face whatsoever, and his figure is just so commanding and
he has an aura,
intimidating, absolutely. And if I walked into him, even in a light street full of sunshine and daisies, then I'd probably run a mile.
Just to emphasise something about the judge, how intimidating he is, it is that he believes he has power over everything. I'm just going to read out a quote from Blood Meridian that the judge utters himself. "Whatever in creation exists without my knowledge exists without my consent." Now, this may seem like a grand statement, but when you read Blood Meridian, you realise that he means it.
Yeah, and he acts upon it.
If he doesn't like something, you will know, and he will most likely win. So if you do ever see a bald man who has flies swarming around him, run. So I would have picked Judge Holden as well, but Ed got there, so I thought I would pick Chigga, who is also a character written by Cormac McCarthy.
What's amazing is a character with such a bad haircut can be so scary.
So if you've seen the film adaptation where Javier Bardem acts this role, he's terrifying in the film as well, but the book, that intimidation and just unpredictability is there as well. He is a murderer, he's a hitman, he has no feeling, and he does crazy things, perhaps for a bit of the thrill of it, to just have a bit of feeling, and he loves to leave things to what he believes is fate. I think many people, there's the famous coin toss scene where if you're wrong, well, he's going to kill you, and he is just so terrifying. And I think what commands fear is that unpredictability in characters, and I think that as you picked Judge Holden and I've picked Chigga, we can see that I would label Cormac McCarthy as the king of terrifying figures.
Yeah, and what's even scarier is that when he walks around trying to kill people, he actually walks. He doesn't run, like every other bad guy. They're running around, rushing, trying to kill people. He just walks around with this giant shotgun, doesn't he?
He does not know what adrenaline is.
Yeah, he just walks around. Whether there's explosions around him or people getting shot, he's just prone.
There is no feeling there.
He just walks,
and that is what is terrifying.
Yeah.
Now on to the next category. We have a mentor. Who would your mentor be? So Ed, who would your historical mentor be?
It is a bit of a coin toss, what we were just saying earlier on. I have two, and I'm sorry I have to choose two. That one of them would be Orm the Bear Slayer from The Oathsworn by Robert Lowe. Now, Robert Lowe's collection, his stories about the Oathsworn are Viking Age tales, and they are just everything that is great about historical fiction based around the Viking period. Now, they cover everything from the Norse, the Danes and the Swedes in Sweden, going down to Constantinople as well, which was called Miklagard back then, which is called Istanbul now, and also going across trying to find Attila the Hun's hoard, his burial chambers with all the treasure.
Cool.
They go down to Asia and Africa as well, and it's a tale that spans many countries. What a great group of characters, the band as well itself, and Orm, their leader. He starts off as a young boy and he ends as an older man with. He's very wise. He's got lots of deep cunning. He's a thinker. He's also a fighter. He has everything. You know, he is. But mind you, he's never really happy, to be honest, which is maybe a bit sad. Maybe I need to choose a mentor that's a bit happier. But he knows so much about so many different things that I feel like he will be able to teach me everything I need to know about. You know, even in this life, he's always got something good to say. Something. That he's dwelt on, something that is important as well. So when he speaks, people listen.
So Ed, who would your second mentor be then?
My second mentor would have to be Torrinaga from James Clabel's Shogun. Now, Shogun
I'm looking forward to reading Shogun.
Is a beast of a book. It's amazing. And Torrinaga is it's pretty a scary character, to be honest, but he's also, he just knows everyone so well. He's so wise. He would be scary to go up against. I feel like he would know everyone's weakness, and he's just a force to be reckoned with intellectually and also in his martial prowess as well. He knows how to lead an army, how to fight a war, that kind of thing, especially in, I believe it's 16th or 17th century Japan, which is a bit of a scary place to be.
If you played Total War Shogun 2, you know exactly
what it means. But Torrinaga is a great character, and I think he would also be a really good mentor.
Great, so great two mentors there, and I think you've been a bit sneaky there.
Sorry.
But my mentor would be Siegfried Sassoon from Pat Barker's Regeneration, which is set during World War One. Hence... yeah, so Siegfried Sassoon, I think when people think of World War One poets, they immediately think of Wilfred Owen. But Wilfred Owen was actually inspired by Siegfried Sassoon, and their meeting, they met in a psychiatric hospital actually during World War One, and Regeneration tells of when they first met, and it's from mainly Siegfried Sassoon's perspective. And I think what makes him such a compelling character is that he's a bit like, as I said with Robert Jordan, he is cynical. He doesn't believe in the war because he's seen how brutal and horrific it is.
Yeah.
And it's a time where we know that people were misled. But he has this sense of duty, and he's a sergeant. The people he's in charge of, he feels like he has a duty to look after them. And even though he doesn't want to go on the front line, and even though he has all these doubts, and he feels like he shouldn't be fighting the front line because he doesn't believe in the cause, he helps those around him. And when you hear the voice inside his head where he thinks, I could just give it all up, you see how he acts with Wilfred Owen and how he inspires Wilfred Owen and actually helps Wilfred Owen recover from the trauma he's faced. And also how Siegfried Sassoon acts towards those who he considers his friends. I think that it's hard to get a better mentor than Siegfried Sassoon.
Good choice, Will. So let's go over to our Samwise character. Which character do we think, who would we actually trust to be our greatest friend? So Will, who would yours be?
So I would pick Cullitch from Bernard Cornwell's The Warlord Chronicles. Cullitch is a fantastic friend. He can be funny, you can have a great laugh with him, but you can trust him no matter what. Even if the odds are completely against you, he will stand by your side. there's a scene that exemplifies this in Enemy of God, the second book in the Warlord Chronicles, and I think anyone who has read the series will know the moment I'm talking about. It is heart-wrenching and just so powerful. I cried. And when you're crying in the first third of a book, you know that it's a great book.
Good,
and also it shows I usually cry acts of friendship, and that was one of them. And I think that my Samwise, I think you can't really get much better than Cullich, because he just does well in all spheres. He would make me laugh. I'd have a great time with him, and I think that he's a great person. I wish he was real. I hope he was real, but I wish he's around now, and it would be great to have met him.
Absolutely, yeah, good choice, Will. And I'm going to actually borrow from the Warlord Chronicles as well. And my Samwise character would be Dervil Kadar, who is the main character of the Warlord Chronicles. And oh my, he's just such a loyal person. He's probably the closest to Samwise Gamgee, but imagine if Samwise Gamgee could wield a sword rather than a frying pan. He is a fierce fighter.
Sam can be handy with a sword.
Yeah, he can be, but he prefers his frying pan. And Dervil Kadar is just intensely loyal, similar to Varadis from The Faith from the Fallen. He's intensely loyal. He is an amazing fighter as well, but everything that he says, everything that he does, he means it. He speaks the truth. He never lies. He's such a loyal and a good-hearted man. He is a good man. That is probably the main kind of essence of him, that he is a good person. And I think after his life that was so difficult as well, it must have been hard to have been such a good man, but he overcomes so many things to become the person who he actually is. And by the end of the first book, you're just rooting for him so much. And I really recommend Bernard Cornwell's trilogy. That is probably his best trilogy, his best writing ever. The Warlord Chronicles, about King Arthur during the period just went after the Romans leave Britain. But Dervil Kadar is my Samwise, now and forever.
So now on to our final category. So it is found family. Who would you like to adopt into your family? And actually, I picked Dervil, and for many of the reasons that Ed has just summarised, in that he would be your Samwise. I think that the thing with Dervil is, even though all the adversity he faces and overcomes and sometimes falls under, he has hope. And I think it's such an endearing factor that makes you just fall in love with Dervil. And he is the Samwise. You love him so much, and I think that he would be great to have in the family, wouldn't he? Can you imagine Dervil here? He'd be great, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he would be teaching us how to wield a shield and also how to be a good person as well. So,
definitely, yeah.
Yeah, he's a trustworthy and reliable man. Good choice, Will. I would have to say my found family, linking back to who you said you're actually most similar to, Will. Eli Sisters. He's just such a kind man. He's sweet, and he just needs kind of looking after, really. He needs someone to treat him nice rather than how Charlie treats him, that kind of thing. He's reliable, he's loyal, and he is a kind-hearted man. He's in touch with who he wants to be as a person, and I would love to give him a nice bed. And oh wait, that sounds weird. I may have said I would like to give Eli's sister a bed. What I meant was give him give him somewhere to live. Give him somewhere, a bit of safety, a bit of security. It just sounds really strange now, but definitely Eli's sisters would be my choice. Thank you guys for watching our video on our favourite historical fiction characters. What we've both noticed is that there are actually no female characters in our historical fiction list. We haven't read much historical fiction where female characters are at the heart of the story, are the main characters. So if you have any recommendations, that is exactly the kind of thing that we would love to read this year. Please let us know in the comments below what historical fiction you have read based around female protagonists, because we really need some recommendations in that area.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the great things about these lists is you realise the gaps you have. What do you want more of? Yeah. And we definitely need some more historical female characters. I particularly would love to read something about Joan of Arc, maybe, because what I do know about Joan of Arc, she seems like such an inspirational figure, and a tragic story as well. So if you have any recommendations, please put them below, especially if you've read anything where Joan of Arc is at the centre.
If you would like to join in on this historical characters tag, please do so. Please let us know if you put any videos up or what your opinions are in the comments below as well. We would love to see what other people thought of maybe these characters, maybe other characters in historical fiction as well. Until we see you next time, stay safe. From the brothers Gwynne Truth and Courage.
Truth and Courage.